If you turned your ads off tomorrow, how much money would you actually make next month? Well, this direct-to-consumer brand found out by accident, and the answer was almost close to nothing. We took them from under $400 a month to $30,000 a month in 120 days. We then made them over $100,000 with a consistent 5.11x ROAS. Now, sadly, in the end of September, their Meta account ended up getting banned and their business completely fell apart in under 3 weeks. Now, the ads worked, and that's kind of what still messes with me. Now, everything else about that brand was broken. No foundation, no community, nothing underneath. And in this video, I'll show you exactly what he missed. All right, so here's where they started. They made around $349 in the month of December back in 2024. If you guys kind of look at the cohort table right here, in January, he had 0 returning customers. In February, he had 3. And then in March, he had 2. So here is exactly what had happened. As you guys can see, we start helping them with some organic content in May, just telling them and fixing up a couple things. But we actually hadn't ran a single ad until June. Now, before I show you guys the collapse, you guys need to know that this was not a broken ad account. They had a clean structure. They had cold traffic, lookalike targeting back then, whatever was working. Because again, keep in mind, this is 6 to 12 months ago. And every single campaign was profitable, which if you guys know anything about ads, isn't typically, that doesn't really happen. So overall, we spent around $19,000 to bring him back over 100K. We were averaging a 5.11x return, and we literally nearly doubled his AOV, and his conversion rate went up 132%. And then just to show you guys, every campaign was profitable. We didn't get lucky. It wasn't some kind of fluke. Here are a couple of smaller campaigns. We made him 37K back with the 3.5x ROAS. We had an 11x, and then we had a 4x. Now, in the end of September, the ad account unfortunately gets banned. Meta doesn't really explain these bans, but you guys can actually see right here, the traffic quite literally completely almost dies. Now, we were averaging around 28,000 sessions a month, and it drops to completely 0. Then in the month of August, we had 370 sales, then it dropped to 243, then to 30, then to 14 customers. And then in November, if you guys can see right here, it is quite literally after November, a 0% retention. Now in November, the ad stopped and the business stopped with the same breath. Every single customer group from November on shows a 0% retention. Not low, quite literally 0. Now something to really understand here is the ban did not kill the brand, it just revealed the truth. Now as you can see, 62% of every customer came from paid right here. 2.5% was only organic, and his customer returning rate was only 3.5%, meaning after getting him 1.2K orders, only 43 of them ever thought to return, meaning that 97% of his traffic was purely rented. So every dollar of growth had to be bought again for the month, and that's not actually owning a real business. That's a treadmill with a subscription fee. They didn't own a single customer relationship. They owned an inventory and an ad account, and that's not a real brand. Now I want you guys to pay attention to this funnel and how we were able to find the lead. He had 110,000 sessions, almost 8,300 add to cart, 5,600 people reached the checkout, and only 1,200 actually decided to buy. So if we actually did the math, he had $394,000 in abandoned checkout. And I want you to remember that's traffic they already paid for. So they had already spent that money to get those people there, and the conversion rate was only a 1.11%, and normal in this category is anywhere from a 2 to 4%. But here's the real problem, is they had no idea any of this was actually happening. They had no system tracking where the money was leaking out of, so they just kept spending more money on ads to pour more people into a bucket with the hole in it instead of just finding the hole. Now, they didn't need a bigger budget. They needed to just know where they were bleeding all of this money. And I'm talking $300,000 worth of money. And I want to be careful here because that ban on checkout number isn't the design problem, right? He had a 1.1% conversion rate. You can only do so much to the site to bring in more traffic. Now, people don't go to a payment page where they're about to enter their card for a product on accident. They went to the checkout page, they found the product, they found the size, they're about to enter their card and billing info, and then they think, do I actually trust these people with my credit card? And for this brand in particular, there was nothing to say yes. There was no founder content, there was no community, there's no proof that people were actually getting their orders. He didn't even have any micro-influencers promoting his brand. And worst of all, his Instagram only had 8 posts. And here's the thing, if you land on a brand, especially an Instagram brand, and it only has 8 posts, immediately you're gonna think it's dropshipped or it's a scam. And that's the whole reason. The site wasn't the problem, it was the trust on the Instagram page. So I want you guys to take a look at this. The whole content library had 0 founder to be found and nowhere to belong. Now, a couple of numbers, he had around 8,000 followers when we were actually working with him. Till this day, he only has 13. and there was no founder anywhere, no community, and he never went live. And here's the part you can't get around is you can pay someone to get to your page, but you cannot pay them to believe when they get there. There's 0 founder content, not one video with the owner's face of it, and 1,200 paying customers, and not one of them could have probably told you his name. Which means the moment ads stopped, there was no real reason for anyone to think about it. It was just a logo that stopped showing up. Now this brand gave them no way to actually stay plugged into the brand's community. No Discord, no broadcast channel, no group, nothing. 1,200 customers and not one of them ended up in the same room. So those are the cracks. The leaking checkout, the 8 posts, no founder, no community, nowhere to belong. And then you put them all together and they show up in one place, which is right here, the traffic itself. As you can see, he had 62% was from paid traffic, 2.5% was organic. Instagram, so almost everyone hitting the store was a stranger and they paid to get sent there. And look at what those strangers did. As you can see, the Instagram traffic converted at a 0.94%, and the Google traffic converted at a 2.21%. Now, to be honest, this is a no-brainer. Even though we made a lot less on Google, you have to understand that these customers were already warm. They were looking for this brand because they had already trusted or seen him from somewhere. Now, the ban was just the last thing that happened to a brand that already had a leaking store. No trust, no face, no community, no audience of its own. So everything was rented, the traffic, the attention. So the day that ads turned off, there was nothing left. As you can see, give or take, we had generated 95,000 to 100,000 off paid traffic, and no one wanted to return. It was never a brand, it was ad spend with a logo on it. Now, like I said, I'm not posting this video to sell you guys anything. I really just want you guys to become more aware of what's gonna happen if you don't make a change. So I'm gonna show you guys exactly what I do with my clients. And I want you to actually go ahead and try any one of these this week and you'll actually see results. So for the first thing is foundations, right? You guys may have a great product, but you don't have a real reason to exist. So I want you guys this week to finish this line. We make blank for people who blank. And if you can't do that, that is a huge, huge problem. Number 2 is founder-led content on camera. As you guys saw with this case study, 1,200 of them bought and only 43 of them actually came back. So an audience that follows you has a lot higher chance of converting higher. So this week, I want you to post one founder-led piece of content, and it can be anything like, hey, why you started a brand, the ups and downs of a brand, the behind the scenes of packing and shipping orders, really just creating that connection with a buyer. Now, number 3 is giving them a place to belong. As we saw, he had 1,200 customers and no real way to actually retain them. Now, something worth paying attention to as well is people don't leave communities. They want to feel a part of something. When they buy your shirt or when they wear your hat, what do they actually feel? So the best way to get that emotion out of them is this week is I want you to start a broadcast channel or Discord channel. I want you to invite your people that already buy from you and support you and want to continue to buy from you into your own community. You can set up a Discord, a broadcast channel, and this is the best way to get feedback because they can tell you what they want for the next drop or product. Now, number 4 is content, doing all 3 drops, right? A lot of you guys post 90% top of funnel content and no middle of funnel, meaning the story, the identity, why the brand even exists. And a lot of you guys will even just post a ton of bottom of funnel content, which is just asking for the sale. So this week, I want you to label your last 20 posts, top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel. And my guess is you've probably never posted or really just aren't posting enough of middle funnel content, which is creating that real connection with the buyer. Now, number 5 is retention. As you guys saw, he had 3.51% returning. 20% is the same revenue on a fraction of the spend. So this week, I want you to message one-time buyers. I want you to call up the buyers that went to the checkout page but didn't actually convert and genuinely ask him like, hey dude, let's say you're on the checkout page, but you never actually bought. What was it that really prevented you? Was it the site? Was it there wasn't enough trust? Was it you didn't know what size to get? And you actually see that a lot of the problems you guys have are little leaks and cracks that you just aren't going to understand because you have to see it from a customer perspective. On top of that, you might even find yourself a couple sales because maybe someone's on the site and they're like, oh man, like I didn't know, I just didn't know if I wanted a small or medium. I'm 5'7", and you can just be like, hey, just you know, you should definitely get a medium, bro. I think it definitely worked. And they're like, thanks. Boom, you just got yourself a free sale you would have never had. Now that brand did everything right on paper, but still disappeared on a random Tuesday in September. You guys want to build things that are actually going to make them stay. So if you guys got something out of this, make sure you go follow my Instagram at DTC_Solomon. And if you have any questions, feel free to DM me. I actually respond.